Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Emerson Boozer, he lives down the street from me.
Why isn't he on the podcast?
Well, we don't know each other.
Jack Rabbit used to live in literally around the corner from my son.
And this has been a segment of obscure people no one outside of North Jersey knows or cares about.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room. It is Wednesday, October 14th, 2020, as if you needed a reminder that it was still 2020. We are going to get started for you. Coming at you tonight, obviously, as always, Jersey Johnny. With me, as always, is RadioPete and Harry Lug Nutz. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
All right, folks, we're going to get right into it tonight. There's no need to delay. Let's start talking about the Giant game on Sunday. First, before we get into anything about the Giant game, let me be the first to say this. As much of a Dallas hater that I am, best wishes and get well soon to Dak Prescott, because that was just horrific and horrible. You don't want to see that to happen to anybody. You know what, Bud, go get better and come back even stronger. And I hope you do. I really do. I don't hate you. I hate your owner, but I don't dislike you. You're a good quarterback, and that was horrific the other night. So, get better soon. I'm sure you obviously already had the surgery, so recover, get back even stronger, and we'll see you next year. Guys, you have anything to say about that, or?
You never want to see anybody get hurt, so yeah.
And not like that. That was
recover, and come back better on another team, maybe.
Certainly the league is more interesting, I think, with Dak Prescott in it, and of course, being a Dallas fan, it's pretty brutal. So I hope he gets better. But you guys look out, because Dalton.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
I agree. I agree. I'll take him. He's way better than he's one of those backups that can do damage, and I think Dallas is going to be okay with him at the helm.
Carrot Top is a good quarterback, so
I think they will too. Somebody called him a professional quarterback the other day, which it's at first,
as opposed to all the amateurs that are out there.
Right, that was kind of the first reaction. But if you think about what they were saying, there's a guy who knows the game, who had some success in, of all places, Cincinnati.
Right. He had a lot of success. Yeah,
he went to some playoff games. They couldn't win any of them, but he was not a total failure, and but obviously not someone they thought was going to take him to the promised land.
In fact, he was
and
very
a guy
successful.
Like Burrow comes along, and you get the pick, then you make a change. But I think Dallas will be fine with him, and he'll probably be rejuvenated with another chance with a different team.
Sure.
Well, wants to show what he wants to do, and it's not like Prescott's coming back in a month, right? You've got the whole rest of the season. Here you go, Andy. Here's the keys. Unless you really fail miserably, the job is yours.
Sure.
So that's going to be a peace of mind for him. So, and they might go 7-9 and win the division with him. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. No, it's very.
That would be 7-9 would be. I mean, just you'd win by 7 games over the whatever. It's
hands down, they would win the division. They go 7-9.
No.
Have everything wrapped up by
6.5, because the Eagles are going to tie every game from here on out.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, they're bad.
They're all bad. But
it's horrible football in the NFC East, folks.
I'll tell you what. Take all the quarterbacks in the NFC East right now. Dak Prescott out. Put in Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Who's the best quarterback in the NFC East right now?
Andy Dalton.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a great point. You could make a case, I guess, for Carson Wentz, but that's
no. You can't make a case.
Well, no, not now. Based on past performance, right?
Based on past performance, yes, but based on present
performance,
on
what's going on so far this season. Yeah, Dalton's the guy.
Carson Wentz has not looked good since he was supposedly an MVP candidate who got hurt, and then a better quarterback took them to the Super Bowl championship.
Yeah.
No, Carson Wentz is not Andy. I would feel better with Andy Dalton if I was coaching an NFL team right now than any of those other alternatives.
Yeah,
and he hasn't even played a whole game.
No,
and he's still. We're gonna mark him down as the best. That's
But you know
sad.
what? Here's the thing. Let me tell you this. You mentioned Dalton. Let me just say this. Dalton is a good, solid quarterback right now, as we just said, best quarterback in the NFC East right now, and he's a backup. But the Bengals, had to get rid of him because Burrow was available, and I agree with that. Obviously, Burrow is a better quarterback.
It was a smart move.
You got to move on from Dalton, even though he's a good quarterback. You got to move on from him if you can.
Maybe there's a lesson to be learned here.
Exactly.
Maybe there's a lesson to be learned.
Exactly. I mean,
you need to
if
move
we're saying
on
Dalton is a good quarterback,
available. Look, I've always said Daniel Jones would be great to challenge as a backup in camp for some team.
Right.
And
if he was,
I would be okay if he was Trevor Lawrence's backup.
You know what? And the same holds true for the Jets too. I mean, it's both sides of the stick.
Right.
You know what? Even though Daniel Jones, you know what? Maybe you put a brick wall in front of him and you get an offensive line from the '80s-esque Giants in front of him or whatever. Maybe he is a utilizable quarterback. Maybe he will fit the bill and do what you need to be done, but he's not, jury's out on if he's ever going to be more than that. But the bottom line is,
I don't even think he's going to be that.
Trevor Lawrence, is a better, right now in college, better quarterback than Daniel Jones is with a year and a half in the league almost. And same holds true for Sam Darnold. I mean, if either of these teams get the first pick and Trevor Lawrence is coming out, they'd be stupid not to take the guy.
Yeah, I would just say I can't disagree with that, but I would just say, have we really seen, has the full potential of either Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold, has it been allowed to blossom? Because they have not had the protection they need. No. They have not necessarily have the tools that they need. So I think we're almost at a point, not so much with Jones, but with Darnold, where if they don't get a chance to become good, it's going to be too late.
I agree that that's a fair caveat for Sam Darnold. I don't think it's a caveat for Daniel Jones. I don't expect Daniel Jones to do, but he has done nothing. And for many of these games, he's had arguably the best running back in the league next to him. He's had some talent around him, and he's not getting hit nearly as much as Sam Darnold is. So, no. Andy Dalton, by the way, is a 3-time Pro Bowler. He hasn't been a Pro Bowler in 3.5 years, but still. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler with pretty good quarterback passer rating. And yes, he had A.J. Green for a while there. But other than that...
Yeah, he didn't have too many weapons.
Yeah. So, if Dallas can get back to their running game with Zeke and control the clock, they got something going there. No, I hate going down the rabbit hole of talking about New York quarterbacks because the best quarterback in New York is in Buffalo. And with these two young guys that the Jets and Giants are hanging their hat on, they're just a result of bad management, bad coaching, and bad decisions on for both teams.
I agree.
Specifically speaking about the Giants, though, that game the other day. Just getting back to the Cowboys game. I'm sorry. You know what? And as big a Giants fan as I am, and as crazy as I get about, in general, not even Giant game calls, but these refs with these stupid flags. I'm sorry. I'm not going. I don't think I'm going. I don't think I'm stepping over the line here when I say that the refs handed Dallas that game. That was the Giants won that game. As far as I'm concerned, as bad a football team all around as they are, and deserve to lose, they won that game. And if you just those 2 touchdowns that were taken back by invisible penalties. I mean, they called illegal shift on Thomas. He wasn't even moving. So I don't know how it was an illegal shift if his feet didn't move. And they called holding on Nick Gates, who blocked one guy and stood there. So I don't know who he was holding. Was he holding his crotch? I don't know what he was holding. What they threw the flag on. But there were no penalties on either of those plays, and both touchdowns got taken off the board. And then on the drive that Dalton was driving at the end of the game to go down and win the game, there were at least 2, if not 3 or 4, holding penalties. One of them was blatant holding. The offensive lineman on the Cowboys threw the guy to the ground. Not one flag. No flags. None whatsoever. So that was a complete, obvious case of home cooking as far as the refs, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the refs go, that I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. Thoughts?
Yeah, there were some bad calls. But look, the Cowboys should have let the Giants in this game. The Giants' offense didn't explode, and all of a sudden, because they've averaged 9 points a game up until last week. They had a 46-yard interception return, which is great. Graham Gano, by the way, who might be the Giants' MVP.
Oh, he already is.
I think his leg just fell off because what did he have? 8 field goals? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Devontae Freeman runs one in.
Yeah.
It's Daniel Jones finally completed a pass in the end zone, albeit for 2. But
well,
he also lost a fumble, which went for a touchdown.
Another fumble.
How much were the Giants up by?
Yeah,
the Giants
Their
were
largest
winning.
lead was what, 17?
14 points, 17-3.
Yeah. And it was that second half was just kind of like in a minute and a half,
it went from 17-3 to 17-17.
Yeah,
in a minute and a half.
And that happens.
Yeah, no,
that happens.
But let me tell you this: Daniel Jones. Okay, he had 2 touchdown passes in week 1. Week 1. All right, this was just week 5. All right, he had 2 touchdown passes in week 1. He has had 0 touchdown passes since week 1.
Their passing attack is horrible. Look, they scored 34 points. He barely got over 200 yards passing. If you're only throwing for 200 yards in an NFL game now as a quarterback and an offense that they're not even balanced. He did throw the ball 35 times. If you're only throwing for 222 yards, no touchdowns. You're not doing your job.
No, you're not.
It's not like they ran the ball for 380 yards on the ground and he was just, being a clock manager.
A whole lot of mediocrity that kind of added up to points because, the Dallas defense is kind of a sieve.
Right, exactly. It added up the yards, but it didn't translate into the points. Graham Gano still had a ton of field goals.
He had 5.
He kicked
5 field goals.
5 field goals, and 3 of them were from 50-plus yards.
Yeah.
It's insane. But here's the thing. 0 touchdown passes since week 1. So 4 games, 0 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions.
I've thrown way less interceptions.
I've thrown less interceptions.
Yeah.
Although I don't between the 3 of us, we've thrown 6. I think.
Look,
I don't have any.
I've said this from the very beginning. When the Giants made that pick, I remember where I was, and I just could not believe what I heard.
Oh, neither could I.
And I have no ill will towards Daniel Jones. He seems like exactly what a preconceived notion of a Giants quarterback should be to this management. Well, he's not even a good version of that, and I think that type of quarterback, unless you're Tom Brady or Drew Brees, isn't going to win in this league anymore. They had an opportunity to get better talent, and they didn't take it. And so these picks are going to hurt them. The Giants used to be really good at going into the 2nd, 3rd, even 4th or 5th round and getting really talented receivers. When a receiver was out of their rookie contract and they wanted too much money or they became a problem, the Giants said goodbye because they had 2 or 3 deep that would come in and fill that role. They just haven't been making good personnel choices. And the other funny thing is that some of these people that you see on the defensive end that you think, oh my Lord, they are horrible. All of a sudden now I'm seeing them playing on other teams, and guess what? They're playing pretty well. They're playmakers. They're living up to the hype that they had behind them.
Yeah,
so I think I don't blame the players so much. I don't blame Daniel Jones. I didn't expect him to do anything more than what he's doing.
He's definitely regressed.
This is arrogant and ignorant on the Giants' upper management. An organization that used to be the best, maybe right up there with the Steelers and some of the other, and the Patriots as far as the best in making personnel decisions, and they've lost it. And until that changes, and everybody was all hot on Joe Judge. It's like the Knicks. The coach isn't going to change anything.
I got to be honest with you, though. Right now, if I had to pick the MVP of the Giants, no matter where it came from in the organization, it would be Joe Judge. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying that because he's an amazing coach. Jury's still out, clearly, but everybody else is that much lower than him, and I'm giving him at least the benefit of the doubt. He's saying the right things in a press conference. He's not shying away from things. He's not getting aggravated. He's not blowing up because he's losing. He's not shying away from questions. He's making points of whatever his explanations of things are. So maybe the MVP of speaking, is all it is. It all it amounts to. But the bottom line is he's safe as far as that goes. At least for now. He's not going anywhere this year. I mean, they gave Ben McAdoo a second year. They gave Pat Shurmur a second year. Joe Judge is definitely getting a second year.
No, I agree.
And
he's got a. You could be. A first-time head coach, and you come in and things go well, and your players stay healthy, and you're, putting them in a good position to win, and everything goes well, and maybe you have some level of success based on the quality of the players and all that. It's not always so easy, I think, as a first-year coach, when things don't go well, to always know what those adjustments are. You need a little bit of experience there.
Sure.
So,
sure.
I'm
expect...
somewhat indifferent to him, but I would certainly say you got to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But eventually that turns into excuse making, and I think that's the same thing with Daniel Jones.
Right.
I agree with you, Harry. At a certain point, you just got to go, he's not the guy.
It comes down to talent.
He's not the guy because he doesn't have the talent around him, and he's not the guy because he hasn't been able to develop. He's just not the guy, and he's never going to be the guy.
It's all of the above. They don't have a lot of talent. And look, you could say what you want, but did Jason Garrett score points as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
Did he at least put the ball in the end zone?
Yeah.
A couple times.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Giants hired him as offensive coordinator, and this offense looks pathetic.
It's very anemic. It is pathetic. That's the best word for it. And there's a few bright spots. I mean, I'm not even going to go with the running game now. I mean, Saquon's obviously their main bright spot, and that we're not going to see any of that till next year. Hopefully.
But when was the last time Saquon had a 100-yard game?
Last year.
Last
year he did, but
they just don't have they just don't have the schemes, the talent, or the right mix of chemistry on the team right now.
Ingram is not up to the hype. I mean, he's good. He's a serviceable tight end. He's a serviceable wide receiver type tight end. He's not a serviceable, bull in the trenches tight end. He's just, he'll throw a block here and there and then get
pulled over. Do you really need those tight ends anymore?
He's going to run a route. But I will say this though, Darius Slayton, he's a pretty damn good receiver. He's that one-handed catch he made over the quarterback.
They have the talent.
Yeah.
It's not pieced together in a way that says, this is our system, this is how we play, this is how we're going to highlight our best players, and this is where we're going to put all of our effort into making sure that happens. And it doesn't. Yeah. And the thing with Saquon is we don't know what this injury is. We don't know when he's going to be able to come back.
Yeah, it might not be the beginning of next year. It might not be till middle next year.
Yeah, and what is the lifespan of a running back these days?
Exactly.
5 years.
5 years unless you're amazing.
Yeah.
So
Ahmad Bradshaw was a great running back for the Giants. He played 6 years?
Yeah. So we have 1, maybe 2 years left on a guy who's now in his second injured season, and we don't know how he's gonna come back.
Yeah, it's not.
And that's who we put all our cards on.
And then speaking of the fact that when I said before Judge is safe for another year, let's go over to the other side of the other locker room in the stadium.
Now, for all of you Giants fans that are down in the dumps. Just remember, you're not Jet fans, and you should celebrate that.
We do know that.
We're aware.
Although I think the Jets are, again, I'm biased because I'm a fan, but I think they're rapidly entering the kind of hangdog, I feel so sorry for them that I kind of like them territory. I don't know. You give me some feedback on that. Maybe there certainly shouldn't be any reason for the rest of the fans of the rest of the league to hate the Jets because they've really never won anything, never been arrogant about anything. They're just sort of this stumbling pile of ineptitude that's rolling down the hill gathering snow. But, man, you want to talk about going from I forget what the saying is, the whatever to the sublime. The Jets are on the sublime end of things.
Yeah.
There's really, literally no worse team in football right now.
If you're a Jets fan, I mean, if you're a Jets fan that remembers the glory year, and I didn't put an S on the end of it. I said the glory year, you're in your mid-60s or older, you know. So it's and that's only if you were a fan when you were a kid. You know?
If I had actually, I became a fan at probably 5 or 6 years old, and I missed it.
Yeah,
by a couple of years.
Right.
That's how long ago
it
was.
And the Jets really haven't been great since their entire defensive line had mullets. You know, I mean, Mark Gastineau is not suiting up anymore, or Joe Klecko. No. Even with time, you can find those two somewhat charming.
Jets haven't been relevant since people in their defense on their defensive line were in movies with Burt Reynolds. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a heck of an acting job.
Yeah,
I saw that about a week ago.
Did you?
Really? I was flipping through, and it was right at that part, and I was like, "Oh my God, Klecko!"
Hey, Joe. Hey, Bandit.
Yeah,
Great
like
acting.
they were buddies. Like Burt Reynolds would hang out with Joe Klecko ever in real life. Maybe just like, "Hey, Joe, I need to leave, but there's kind of a crowd. Can you push the people out of the way so I can get to my car?"
Well, you
sure
remember,
thing, Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Just remember, in the same movie, he was also buddies with Terry Bradshaw and Mean Joe Green, too. So.
Well, everyone's buddies with Terry Bradshaw.
This is true.
I just read an interesting article about him at the. It was about how he survived in broadcasting, even though there were apparently multiple executives at Fox when he got hired who said, "Don't hire this guy. He's a disaster. He's a clown."
Really?
But somebody higher up than them said, no, I want him. And he survived. How long has he been in broadcasting now? 20 years?
Many, many years, yeah. So, he's a lovable clown. You know?
Yeah. So the Jets are terrible. They they've managed to stop us all from talking about their gameplay and instead focus on the even more hideous than usual activities of their front office.
And the Jets are going to be broadcast on TMZ now instead of SNY and ESPN.
Look, the whole Le'Veon Bell thing. This was just this was a mismatch made in purgatory right from the get-go, and just a case of
I blame
maybe
Mike
never. Gase said it just didn't work out. Well, it was, I think, destined to never work out because you had a coach who claims that he has no problems with the player, just doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a running back, which is a philosophy that a lot of teams seem to embrace. Sure. So you can't really argue with that. But, you don't say that out loud day one. No. And day two, when you're bringing in a guy who was such a big part of the Steelers' offense, and you've got a young quarterback, and you think, well, here's this great offensive tool that we can give the ball to 25 times a game, he can catch passes, you'd think you ought to kind of build your offense around that guy.
You would think.
You would think. But Gase is not that kind of guy. He wants to fit players into his system, and Bell is not his kind of running back. Frank Gore is his kind of running back.
Right.
And I'll just throw one little stat I heard the other day. I might have to paraphrase a little bit, but because I don't forget where I saw it. But since 2019, they talk about Bell's yards per carry is 3.7 or whatever it is. Since 2019, amongst active players who have 200 touches or more, there's one guy active in the NFL who has a lower yards per touch than Le'Veon Bell. Anybody want to take a guess at who that is? Since 2019, at least 200 touches,
right.
One running back with a less yards per touch than Le'Veon Bell.
Active player with less yards per carry than Le'Veon Bell?
Devontae Freedom?
Nope.
Todd Gurley?
No. Did not suffer a major injury since 2019.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Go ahead.
You don't have to look far.
Frank Gore.
There you go.
All right.
The guy they brought in has, I think, at 3.2 or something like that. So it's not like, they've got a great replacement for him. It's just a nightmare scenario, and it's just typical of the Jets. So
I think you're going to see him back on the field in 2 weeks. Somebody's going to pick him up this week, and he's
going to the Patriots.
Oh, yeah. Is that it, you think?
Why wouldn't they?
I think he's going to go to Tampa Bay.
Well, that's an idea, too.
I think he's going to Tampa Bay or Cleveland, and I'll tell you why. I think he fits in on both those teams right now. I think Tampa Bay, or I think New England, really, if they're going to spend money on people or they need receivers. They've got pretty darn good running backs. Tampa Bay doesn't. The Fournette deal. He's not healthy. LaShawn McCoy has not really lived up. Brady doesn't have that running back to throw it to.
Yeah.
In Tampa, and if he had that, he also needs somebody to kind of make up for what I think is a kind of failed experiment with Rob Gronkowski. And I think Le'Veon Bell could be a hell of a target in that offense in Tampa Bay, and he can also spell Ronald Jones running. And the other team that I think he would fit in on is the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland is a pretty dynamic offense, and he would be a different type of option for Baker Mayfield. I hate to say that because I don't want Cleveland to get any better.
Right.
But the other team too is Pittsburgh. I could see him on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I've been reading some of that too. But I think with Cleveland, could he get enough touches to keep him happy and have everybody else have enough touches?
Kareem Hunt is...
Chubb's out. And who knows? He's out indefinitely.
Right, but Kareem Hunt's going to get the bulk of the touches. They're not going to bring Bell in and sit Kareem Hunt.
You don't know that. They sacked Kareem Hunt for Nick Chubb.
Yeah, but Nick Chubb was there before Kareem Hunt.
But what if Kareem Hunt still had 17 carries a game and Le'Veon Bell had 12 carries and 7 pass attempts? That would
probably be enough to make him happy.
They could be a tandem, and that would be fine. I'm just saying they're not going to sit. They're not going to give Bell 80% of the touches.
I don't think there's any team in the NFL right now that's going to hand the ball off to Le'Veon Bell 20 times and throw it to him 10.
No, because he hasn't. He's got to prove that he can handle that workload, and of course he's coming off an injury too. So he really hasn't played in a while.
Right. Well, yeah, he hasn't played since 2017.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Played week 1 and did nothing, and the previous season was kind of a bleh.
Yeah, and who knows what's really going on there? I mean, boy, Pittsburgh just looks. They're coming out on the other side of this with the whole debacle with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell looking like they knew something that the rest of the world didn't really know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But Bell hasn't not been productive because of his attitude.
No.
He just hasn't been utilized, at least, by the Jets. I mean, and he was hurt. All right, so the Jets are idiots. I don't know. How do you just not get anything? Even if you, I know it's a bad contract, but so you eat the contract, right? You got to pay it. The money's guaranteed anyway. So just eat the contract and get a draft pick.
Yeah, I don't know how they got nothing, but I think that was part of the point is everybody was smart enough to say, well, the Jets are going to eat this anyway. Let them suck up their responsibilities in this, and we'll sign them off waivers. Why should we? Draft picks are more valuable than running backs these days.
Right.
So why should you give up a first, second, third round draft pick for Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, but you could give up a 6th or a 7th. I guess nobody really wanted him that much.
Somebody's going to get him without having to do that. So
yeah, well, and that was the case. Obviously, I'm sure Joe Douglas did shop him. You know what? We can bust chops about the Jets all we want. But I'm sure there was at least an attempt to try and deal him to somebody.
Oh, they tried.
They were trying to deal him last year.
Right now. Just like they didn't just make this decision after Sunday. Screw it, he's out. I'm sure Douglas made a couple of phone calls. He probably didn't exhaust everything. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It is what it is.
I guess my other question is, would it have been so painful just to play him? He's going to give you something, right?
Right.
So so maybe he's unhappy and he's liking tweets that say he ought to be traded. Big deal. You just let that water run off the duck's back. But I guess Gase is not that kind of guy. Like what is worse? You let him play and get what you can get out of him,
right?
Or you cut him loose and you're the laughing stock, even more so than usual.
When he held out, was he not considered the best all-around running back in the NFL?
Sure.
Of course.
By most people.
He was the best all-around offensive weapon. I think you make that argument.
Right. And his numbers showed that. So, obviously, there's a lot of things that happened since then. But, yeah, this goes back to our conversation about the Giants and the Jets. There is this stubbornness in their bad decisions and not allowing anybody to prove them differently. It's ridiculous. The fact that they lost him for absolutely nothing. That's not as sad as the fact that because of whatever differences of opinion and personalities that they were not trying to utilize him more
Especially on a team that, who are your offensive stars? Well, it's not like who's going to run the ball now. Not to be disparaging of anybody, but it's not like there's necessarily a better running back. Oh, we can get rid of Bell. We have this guy. Who do they have that's better than Le'Veon Bell? Nobody. So you're not making your team any better, other than from the standpoint of satisfying apparently Adam Gase's ego.
That's exactly what it is.
That's all it
really
is.
What it just boils down to.
That's all it is. So we're going to be left here looking at, we'll be talking next year about how wonderful Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones are.
Right.
Saquon Barkley decides to go someplace else, and both teams decide not to draft Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Jets, you look at it this way: if they can't bring Frank Gore back next year, they could always go out and get Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear Tommy Vardell is looking to make a comeback.
Rodney Hampton actually wants to make a comeback.
I mean, they never have a back that runs more than 2 yards anyway. So
exactly. So.
Just bring in one of those bruising touchdown goal line fullbacks.
Right.
Well, they don't get near the goal line. That's the Giants can't use them either. It's like, the Giants don't get in the red zone. They just cross midfield and send the place kicker out.
Speaking of
place
place
kickers. 30 and kick. It's first down. It doesn't matter. We're saving time on the clock.
We're thinking we're going to stop them and get the ball back and get another chance to score before halftime.
Exactly.
So we're going to kick a 51-yarder now.
Right.
Gano can do it. It's fine.
Speaking of kickers, I don't know the guy's name in San Diego, but come on, man.
Yeah.
When New Orleans tied that game right at the end of regulation, I just thought, well, okay, they're going to win it now. And then when the Chargers took about 30 seconds out of the 45 or so that were left to go about 10 yards, I went, okay, this thing's going to overtime. And then they had a shot, and they didn't get it done. I was very disappointed. Not just because I picked him, but because I like him and I wanted to see him. I like Herbert.
I can't believe New Orleans. I can't believe New Orleans. Drew Brees showed a lot to me because if they lose that game, their season's done.
That was they definitely
that was a hell
showed
of a
their grit.
Just for your information, it's Michael Bagley.
There you go.
There you go. So,
I knew it was.
But you know what though, he did get it. I mean that should be points. I mean the way he hit that post.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's hard to do that.
And then I think he missed an extra point earlier.
He missed
an
extra point too.
So if either one of those things, a made extra point and or a missed extra point and a doink off the post, and they end up going to overtime and
exactly. But you know what? And if the Chargers win that game, you have an extra win. And,
hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the breaking news just coming in: the Jets just signed Freeman McNeil for the rest of the season.
Freeman McNeil,
he was on the coaching staff, I believe, right?
Maybe that's why he was already there.
I think they were sitting around in the cafeteria, like, what are we going to do now? Freeman was over at another table having a bowl of soup, and they were
Suit
like,
up.
"Hey, what's a suit up, man?"
Curtis Martin wasn't available. So.
Curtis Martin was not available. That was their first choice.
Well, I could go talk to I forget his name. Oh, Emerson Boozer. He lives down the street from me.
Emerson Boozer lives down the street from you?
Yeah.
Why isn't he on the podcast with us?
He doesn't. Well, we don't know each other.
Let
me put it this way. He lives in a development in the town that I live. I think he still lives there. Not like we're friends. We pass each other or wave to each other when we're out getting the mail or anything. I just I know that he was living there. I think he still is.
When Jack Rabbit used to live in Jersey when he was on the Giants, before he went down to New Orleans and started committing pass interference penalties, he used to live literally around the corner from my son. So every day my son would be walking past his house, and he actually talked to him. He actually stood there and talked to him.
Yeah.
And this has been a segment of obscure people no one outside of North Jersey knows
exactly
or cares about.
All right, so the Jets and the Giants both suck. Their prospects are terrible. They're lousy all around, but the Giants are a little bit better.
Barely, negligibly.
I hope not.
Let's talk quickly about a couple of the night games. Who saw the Bears coming out like that last Thursday night? I did. I mean,
you knew that game was going to be close.
Oh, we said it was going to be close, but I did not expect the Foles' special sauce to to look like that against Brady.
Well, they say
who thought Brady would have a senior moment too?
Yeah, I was going to say the first thing that goes is the ability to He also was at the stadium for an extra 4 hours because he couldn't find his car keys that were in his hand.
Well, just wait till they pull the old hide the helmet trick on him. He'll think he's lost it for good.
That is a true statement.
It's too bad because
happened.
I think Tampa Bay kind of outplayed them, and I think they had that last drive wrapped up. I think they would have put the game away. But Chicago's not a bad team, and Nick Foles again.
Pixie dust.
Pixie dust. It's ridiculous.
It's
what
not
that
just in Philly anymore.
No, but he's.
I don't know why.
In order for it to keep going, though, he's got to change teams
Foles
once every 2 years.
I don't know why. When he won with the Eagles, everybody's like, "Oh, Carson Wentz is a much better quarterback, and we can't afford to keep Nick Foles." And I didn't agree with that, and I still don't.
No.
I get it. Carson Wentz looks like a better quarterback, and for 8 to 10 games, he acted like a great quarterback.
Sure.
But Nick Foles knows how to win games.
Yeah, well, but Foles also at that point was, sort of the book was kind of half closed on him. He's okay, but he's not really the guy who's going to lead you to the promised land. And since then, obviously, he's had this kind of resurgence. So it was easy to say that. Wentz was the up-and-coming young stud, and Foles was kind of the older, second-string guy. But I think, given what Nick Foles has done in these past few years, pixie dust or not, you have to kind of change your opinion about him.
Well, he obviously owns Tom Brady right now.
This is true.
Which is sweet for 90% of the country. Everybody likes that.
And speaking of night games, Vikings on Sunday night. Would you have kicked that field goal? Or would you have gone for it on fourth down?
I would have kicked the field goal.
I would have kicked the field goal.
I said that too on Sunday night, and then I thought about it on Monday. I would have kicked the field goal, but I'm not going to disagree with Mike Zimmer. Not 100% anyway. I'm not going to disagree with him for going for it on fourth down. What I am going to disagree with was the play call. These off-tackle plays are, they work unless you have an amazing offensive line. Off-tackle doesn't work. Why do you continually do it? You try it once in a blue moon. If you sneak through, you go. But, they could have called a more out-of-the-box play for that fourth down that would have thrown the Seahawks for, shocked them and gotten that yard. And there you go. But I would have kicked the field goal. But I don't necessarily disagree with him for going in on fourth down. I disagree with the play call. But
they had a boatload of rushing yards in that game, didn't they?
They did. Dalvin Cook was amazing in that game.
Yeah.
And until he got hurt, he was you couldn't stop him.
Yeah. I probably, again, I agree with you as far as the off tackle. Down in the goal area, you sort of have to watch for stacking the box. But certainly, again, they were having success with the run, and I understand the philosophy. You don't play for the tie on the road, but just kick the ball. So what's the worst thing that happens? It ends up tied.
Yeah.
And then you take your chances in overtime versus if you don't get it, well, and then you see what happens.
Exactly.
Especially going up against a team like.
But
the
you know what,
Seahawks.
though? They kicked that field goal. Seattle. Russell Wilson had to drive down the field and not only score the touchdown, but he had to get the 2-point conversion too. And if it played out the way it did, he didn't get the 2-point conversion.
Right.
Minnesota wins the game.
Right.
So
and ultimately, if you want to just say, for the pure purposes of making a decision, well, it didn't work, so it was the wrong call.
Right.
And I don't always like to do that, but in this case,
either, yeah.
I think because there's a good argument to be made, on either side of the coin, there's an argument to be made for going for it, and there's an argument to be made for kicking the field goal, and they're both good arguments. And it didn't work out, so you made the wrong choice.
And I think Minnesota's a better team than 1-4, and I still think Seattle is one of those teams that looks really good but can be beat. But at the end of the day, Russell Wilson came through.
Yeah, he did.
Speaking of teams that look really good that can be beaten, who was it? There was one team, I think they wear red, who is a 4-1 team. Kansas City.
Yeah, what happened there?
Beaten by the Raiders. Are the Raiders? They're not. Are they that good?
No.
Are they? They certainly seem to be up and coming. Happy to have a new home in Sin. Perfect that the Raiders are in Sin City, right?
Right.
But
exactly.
what happened there? Anybody's thoughts on the Raiders beating the Chiefs? Just a letdown?
I think maybe the Chiefs looked a little past them. Maybe it could just be a divisional thing. The Jets could suck, and I'm not going to go with New England, but Miami could be playing good football and the Jets win the game, or vice versa. The Jets could be playing decent, Miami sucks, all of a sudden Miami wins. We'll go that route because that happens more often.
Right.
But
Thank you.
Whatchamacallit. It's just a divisional thing.
It's hard to repeat. Everybody's out for him. I think Kansas City's a little exhausted. They looked not on top of their game. They had some games like that last year.
Yeah. I mean, they almost lost to. I mean, the Chargers were beating up on them with a rookie quarterback.
They just got a little out of their comfort zone of where they could come back from 24 points down and with 12.
They started to come back a little too late on Sunday than normal. So.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Harry. Everybody is after them, and when everybody's after you, they're playing their best football at whatever level, supposedly at whatever level that is. They might be, a C-level team, but they're playing their best. Maybe they're playing C-plus ball or B ball. And if you're the Chiefs, you really kind of have to come out and play your A game every single week because everybody else is doing that.
I think the Raiders played their A, maybe even their A+ game, and the Chiefs played a C- game.
Yeah. The Raiders were playing above their expectations.
They played as good as they can, but they also limited their usual Raider blunders, mistakes, and costly penalties to a certain degree.
Right.
And their defense,
more disciplined football.
Their defense did look really good.
It did.
Yeah,
and that might be the difference right there, because we kind of know what the Raiders' offense is. You kind of know what Derek Carr can do, and he's not a bad quarterback. He has his. When everything's clicking, they can be very good. But that defense, they were all over the place. And they look like they're getting better as the weeks go on.
And Carr just might be in a better situation that he's ever been in, as far as not having the weight of the franchise on his shoulders.
He definitely had a great game on Sunday. I mean, it's probably his best game in a long time he had on Sunday. So, but I think it was a divisional thing. I think the Chiefs looked past it. They didn't come with their A game. The Raiders came in to beat them. They just they had the mindset, and Gruden had them ready, and they took the game and won it. And the Raiders outplayed them more for longer than most teams do. And again, the Chiefs, whenever they flip the switch and start their comeback from a team that is outplaying them, and come back to win the game, they just flip the switch a little too late in that game. That's all.
On any given Sunday.
Are the
49ers done until they get their guys back?
Yes.
So Miami, not really that good.
No,
actually last week you said Miami's better than we all think they are.
Yeah, Miami's better than
I think I thought that all year, and they have the potential to put up points. Their offense can be really good.
Fitzmagic is stupid. I mean, it's insane what that guy does.
Yeah. But it's getting to the point in the season where he starts to drop off. It's always like the first 6 games, and then
nothing. He's
just everybody grabs him in their fantasy league, and then he'll throw 9 interceptions in the next 4 games.
It's all about the fantasy,
right?
That's it.
But we'll see.
He wants to be picked up mid-season on everybody's team. So.
And how about the Bills? Have they kind of been exposed as maybe not as good as we thought? We talked about who did they beat, who did they play early on. I think we were talking about them as a legitimate 3-0 or 4-0 team. Have they been exposed a little bit?
Yeah, I think they've been exposed. I think they were. I think they over practiced for this game. I also think the fact that Tennessee didn't practice for 2 weeks and just had all that pent up.
Tennessee's a better team than you think they are as well.
And they are. I mean, they couldn't. Like I said, you couldn't stop Dalvin Cook on Monday.
Do we remember last year with Tennessee?
No. You couldn't stop Derrick Henry yesterday. He had the ball. He was getting 6, 7, 8 yards at least, a minimum a carry. It was he was blowing right through the first and second tacklers. It was just it was him and their line too. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Harry. The Tennessee's a better team than maybe everybody thought right now, but they were the better team last year too. I mean, they beat the Bills in the playoffs too.
Well, they came on late last year. They weren't they weren't barn burning in the beginning of the year. So
Mike Vrabel's a good coach, and he knows how to get his team ready. Even he didn't have any time to get his team ready. They had a couple of walkthroughs, and they didn't even practice for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think that was a big deal for them, though. I think
it might have helped them.
They knew what they were going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry,
right?
And then when it's 3rd and 6, we're going to pass.
We're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry, and then we're going to try to play really good defense, and we have pretty good special teams too. So
And the cameramen last night during the game too, they knew what they were going to do. They're going to keep the camera on Derrick Henry when he's running, and they're going to keep the camera on Ryan Tannehill when he throws the ball. And as soon as the pass is completed, they're going to switch to Ryan Tannehill's wife,
which I think was an excellent call.
That was a good call.
Tannehill's got 9 touchdowns, only 1 pick this year.
Well, that's because of Adam Gase.
Right.
Should we do some picks?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we go to the picks? Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
So just to recap last week, Jersey Johnny and Mr. Lug Nutz both going 4-1. We all lost on Tampa Bay. We all won on Arizona. I went 3-2 because I took San Diego, but we all won on Dallas except for the coin. We all won on Seattle except for the coin, and everybody won with New Orleans except for me. So I went 3-2. The coin 2-3. The coin is terrible. So Johnny leads 11-3 total. Harry, you and I are tied at 9-5, and the coin 5-9.
Look at that.
So far, we are better than a random flip, and I, for one, am going to be proud of that. All right, so Sunday night is the Rams and the 49ers, right?
Right.
Anybody want to take the Niners?
Nope.
No, but knowing my luck, they'll win.
All right. No, I'm going to let's flip the old coin here. Everyone's taking the Rams. Coin says heads, which is the home team. So the coin is taking the 49ers. I'm starting to think the coin is not very smart.
I don't think the coin is very...
They're just...
It's not paying attention.
I think I'm only ahead of it by 1 game.
They're falling off the table. All right, we've got the 5 o'clock Monday game, which is the Chiefs and the Bills. This is a very interesting matchup to me.
Yeah. I'm going to...
Because of all the things that we just talked about.
Sure.
And who wants to go first?
I think the Chiefs bounce back and win that game.
I don't disagree with that. I think if for nothing else, they definitely put into perspective what the hell happened on Sunday and come out and just take charge of the game.
When was the last time Kansas City lost 2 games in a row?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, if the Chiefs hadn't lost, I would probably take the Bills.
Right.
Momentum-wise.
But Kansas City needs to re-exert their dominance.
The worst thing that happened to the Bills is the Chiefs lost.
The Chiefs, yeah.
Right.
All right, let's see what the... so we all say KC. Let's see what the coin says. That was a terrible flip. That was a terrible flip, too. Spins and comes up tails. So that game is where? That is... that's in Buffalo. So they're taking Kansas City as well.
There you go.
Monday night game is the Cardinals and the Cowboys. Cardinals at the Cowboys. I don't know. Does anybody have any renewed confidence in the Cardinals because they beat up on the high school Jets? And does anybody have any extended or augmented confidence in the Cowboys because they nearly lost to the 0-5 Giants?
No. I would normally say I don't care about this game at all. I think the Cowboys win.
I'm going to say that the Cardinals take this game, and that's not coming from a fandom point of view. I think the Cardinals have the tools. I think on paper they're the better team right now. I'm not taking anything away from Dalton and what he can do in the fill and roll, but I think the Cardinals take this game.
Yeah, the Dalton factor is an interesting question. The Cardinals, even though it was only the Jets, you've got to think they've got some of their confidence back.
Sure.
Probably not the swagger they had after starting off 2-0, and before getting their tails between their legs there. But I'm tempted to take the Cardinals because they are coming off that win. But I think the Cowboys are gonna. I think they're gonna be working extra hard to make sure that their backup quarterback is going to have success. And he certainly is capable of it. So I got to, and I'm a fan. So I got to take the boys.
There you go. So
Dallas.
I'm alone.
Let's see what the coin says. Coin says tails. So the coin agrees with Jersey Johnny. And is going to take the Cardinals.
There you go.
And what is the other game? I must be missing something here.
Well, we have those 3 games, and we have the Jets and the Giants.
Oh yeah, the Jets and the Giants. I forgot about that. Do we have to pick them?
We don't have to.
This just doesn't make it fun. Let's skip the Jets and Giants this week.
All right, so
neither of us are picking either of them, and then
the Jets at the rejuvenated Dolphins. Anybody want to take the Jets?
Nope.
I'm not taking the Jets now.
Okay, Miami, and let's flip.
All 3 of us, Miami.
Oh yeah. The coin comes up tails, so it's picking the Jets.
There you go.
Stupid coin.
Stupid coin.
And then the Giants, who are they playing? I have no idea. I could have looked at
Washington.
Should have looked at this game. Oh yeah, there we go.
Giants are home against Washington.
Hosting the football.
Hosting the football team.
A good friend of mine posted some ex-player named Player. He wanted Washington to sign him, so the headline could be Washington signs Player. And then there were a whole bunch of other Charles Mann, I think, was another one that came up, and Ray Guy, Washington signs Guy. That was one of my favorites. I told them
football team signs Guy.
Yeah, football team signs Guy. That
was like an Onion article.
My suggestion was Leon Washington, and then you could have either football team signs Washington or Washington signs Washington. So that was
funny.
Little bit of fodder, but I don't think any of those things are happening. All right, so football team versus the Gents. I'm going to pick first, and I'm going to think that this is the week the Giants win.
As much as I want the Giants to go 0-16 at this point, I got a feeling you are right. I think the Giants win this week.
This game is sponsored by Waste Management and Roto-Rooter.
And the Jimmy Hoffa Cornerstone Company.
This game is sponsored by Petland Discounts on Ocean Avenue and Avenue U in Brooklyn.
That's right. The winner of this game goes on to play Don Bosco Prep in the next round of the high school Division I championship. I want to pick the Giants, but I also just want them to lose every game this year. I think Washington wins this game.
Do you?
Yeah, I really do. I just feel like the Giants will find a way to lose this.
All right. Yeah, let's see what the coin says. Coin picks heads. So the coin likes the Giants.
There you go.
Look at that. Look at that. From one
I got to
week,
go out on a limb, you know.
From 1 week to another, we've got the coin picking the Jets, and we've got 3 out of 4 picking the New York Football Giants. Let's see. What else happened? NBA? Was there something going on with basketball?
There was a championship.
It wasn't quite as I predicted. Miami was able to not quite to avoid the gentleman's sweep, but
they somehow managed to win that second game.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Butler.
There you go. You called it.
But I mean, in the last game, he just looked spent, and LeBron was not going to let that go to a game 7.
No, not at all.
And are we surprised? No,
not at all. Not at all.
LA was. You could say Miami was better at playing as a team, but LA had LeBron and Anthony Davis, who I think is destined for greatness as long as he stays healthy. And I think Tony Kornheiser said LeBron and AD and 10 guys named Bob.
Yeah, but
that was enough.
Here's what he's missing out of that is that you do have guys like Kuzma and the other and the games that the Lakers won, Rondo had an impact.
Playoff Rondo was in full effect.
And playoff Rondo was in full effect, and I think he had 19 in the clinching game. He was a big part of it, and that's another reason why when he's on and he plays more minutes, Jimmy Butler's numbers go down because he is one of those old school defenders who can get in those passing lanes, even if he's off the ball. He's a good defender, and they have some other good role players. Dwight Howard is the underrated pickup of the NBA season. He was spectacular, especially in the series against the Nuggets.
Yeah. Well, they put him on Jokic.
And Caruso is a pretty darn good basketball player, and obviously a fan favorite for obvious reasons because he's the new incarnation of Kurt Rambis on the opposite hairstyle.
Here's my question, though. Was it an exciting series? Because when the Lakers won, I think one game they won by 8, but everything else was double digits, including the finale. When Miami won, close games, back and forth. Although they won one by, I think, double digits. I don't know all the scores, but the Lakers wins were largely blowouts, lopsided.
Yeah, it wasn't super exciting. I mean, I'm sure if I was a Lakers fan or a Miami Heat fan, it would be far more exciting. For me, being a Nuggets fan, this was a great NBA playoffs. I also felt that it just didn't quite reach what happened last year. That Toronto Raptors run, especially with the win against the Sixers, and then them actually all the drama that happened in the finals with Golden State. I think last year was a much better NBA playoffs. This year it was, but I will commend the NBA for what they did.
Yeah,
I think that out of all of the sports teams, the NBA and the NHL did the right thing. They had a really successful playoff bubble, and they weren't bad games. These were some good series, and I think what I take out of this is that. You're gonna see some new blood coming, especially out of the West. And next year in the East, with the Nets getting arguably one of the top 2 players back on their roster, is Boston maybe not as good as who we thought they were? Who will Toronto add in the offseason? I think it's going to be pretty interesting. And Golden State will be back.
Yeah, that's something we don't talk about very much is Golden State and the players they don't have playing now and the players they've lost over the last few years.
Sure.
But certainly, what are the Clippers going to do? They're going to have a new coach, and do they jettison Paul George, or do they try and figure out a way to make it work? And I think Denver, young, good, up and coming, they're going to be around. They're going to be something of a force.
Portland will be good again. Golden State will be back. I don't know what's going on with Houston. I
probably the same thing.
Well, John knows
more of the same until they reset.
Yeah, and again, I think Doc Rivers in Philly is a good fit, a really good fit, and we'll see if he can get Embiid motivated to get in shape and to take that team on his back. I think they're 1 or 2 players away. It's too bad Jimmy Butler left there because I think they were a much better team, obviously, with him there. But the NBA is going to be pretty interesting. I mean, I still think next year, maybe the next 3 years, it's still going to be the Lakers to lose. But a healthy Golden State, who knows what Durant can do with the Nets? And the Nets showed some interesting new parts even in their limited run.
They had
interesting.
I would consider what they had to be a pretty successful regular season. They didn't show a lot in the playoffs, but they've got some good pieces there, and you're going to have 2 superstars on the team.
And I will guarantee you one thing next year is that the Knicks will be horrible again.
Again, though, as if they weren't for a while, though. I mean,
well, still,
better word.
Yeah, right. Where do you reach the point
was I not old timey enough in my declaration of that? No, Knicks will yet again be bad.
where's the turning point where you say, well, the Knicks throughout their history were more bad than they were good? In other words, when do they go from this was a great team that's fallen on hard times for the last 35 years to this is a team that's sucked for 55 out of their 60 years?
They're still over the history of their franchise been better than the Nets.
Oh yeah,
right. But have the Knicks' good periods been greater than their bad periods?
Early on, the Knicks had championships. Early on in the 70s, the Knicks won 2 NBA championships.
Sure.
They were a decent team throughout a lot of the 80s. They weren't a great team, but when you have Bernard King and on your team, you're at least entertaining. They were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the 90s. And yeah, I would say in the early 2000s with Carmelo and Stoudemire, were they bad? No. Did they underachieve? Yes. Since 2000, in the last 10 years at least, have they been horrible? Yes. Will that change? No. It goes right back to what we were talking about earlier. Unless they change ownership, nothing will change at the Garden. Here's my only hope, is that Spike Lee finally woke up and said, I'm not supporting this team anymore. And what I would like to see is all of the major Knicks fans, all of these multi-billionaires who sit in the stands at Madison Square Garden, boycott this team if we're ever able to go see games again. Boycott this Knicks team. Don't go to the games and force Dolan to sell this team. That's the only way the Knicks are going to change. because
Absolutely.
no one wants to play there. Because if it was 1999 or 2009 and Kevin Durant had a choice to go to the Nets or the Knicks, he would have went to the Knicks.
Of course he would have. Of course he would have. That would have been a
no
question
brainer.
there.
Yeah.
You know what? That brings us to the part of the podcast that we always like to do, entitled Old Balls.
Old balls.
Old balls.
Harry, who's our Old Balls winner this week?
This week's Old Balls contestant is George Blanda. George Frederick Blanda, who I believe played for 26
seasons over the course of 27 years. Yes, he missed one season.
Yeah, he retired. I think he retired briefly for 1 year. He played quarterback. Obviously, he was a kicker, and he played linebacker. And
he was 48 when he retired.
Played till he was 48. He played in both the AFL and the NFL. He played in 4 different decades. I think he's one of maybe 3 or 4 players to ever do that, where he actually played in 4 separate. Played for the Bears, the Colts, the Bears again, the Oilers, and the Oakland Raiders, where he was primarily a kicker, I think, by then. Yeah, he was a 3-time AFL champion, a 4-time AFL All-Star. He was 2-time second team, 1-time first team. He led the league in passing in 61 and 63. And this is something you just don't see anymore. And the fact that he just said, hey, I'm going to continue my career until I'm 48 in the NFL is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even... Who knows if Tom Brady's going to beat that record?
Yeah, and if Brady does, it's probably more impressive because...
He's a quarterback
well,
the whole
and
time.
I would say this is not only something that you don't see anymore. This guy's completely unique, as far as I'm concerned. There's nobody who's ever had that kind of combination, along with that sort of longevity and productivity throughout. It wasn't like the last 3, 4, 5 years, we keep him around, because he's, the fans love him and he kind of does a good thing or two. No, this guy was getting it done right up until the end.
He threw 7 touchdowns in a game, which I think is still the record.
It's tied. It's been tied, but yeah.
He also, would make Daniel Jones very happy that he also has the record for most interceptions thrown in a single season.
But that is in the AFL, though, not
That
the
is.
NFL. So there's Jones's record or possibility of getting that.
You just want something to hang your Giants hat on.
Exactly.
He also
Exactly.
one game through 68 passes, and I think that was broken by Drew Bledsoe with 70. And he was 40, almost 48 and a half when he played. He was the oldest player to play in an NFL game. 48 years, 109 days old. And he scored over 2,000 points.
That's a number I can't really even wrap my head around. That's just absolutely outrageous.
Absolutely. He played from 49 to 75.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like not only did he play 4 decades, it's like he played almost like 3, almost 4 like generations. Not just of football, but just of the world. I mean, think about from 49 to like 55 was a different world. From like then going from the 50s into the 60s, then going through the early 60s and the late 60s, then into the 70s.
It's like he had like 4 different careers.
Exactly.
In 4 different, very different eras.
Absolutely.
No one would ever, even if there was anyone who could put together the combination of the will and the grit and the skill, I don't think anyone would be allowed to do that these days.
No, and he did it on some old school teams. When you play for the Bears, the Colts, the Oilers back in the early days, and then the Oakland Raiders. It wasn't like he was pampered or playing in Florida.
Yeah, right. He wasn't wearing the red penny in the games, and nobody was hitting him.
That's right.
That was right. Very, very different NFL.
Big time. And he in 61, he set a record for 36 touchdown passes. That was the most ever thrown by any NFL or AFL quarterback in a single season. But that was tied 2 years later in 63 by none other than Mr. Gilbert and Abraham Tittle with the Giants.
And teams didn't throw nearly as much as they used to.
No.
No.
That was why
so
it was
the percentage.
record like
Yeah,
that.
36 and 61. That's pretty.
I think
That's
Russell Wilson's going to have that in the next 2 games. So, but in 61 and 63, that was a different story then.
Yeah. Next year we'll see a news feed. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes threw 12 touchdown passes today and
in the first quarter,
and lost to the Buffalo Bills 78-63.
It was the 2-point conversion that's Sunday.
That's right. It'll be the new 4-point conversion or something. Mm-hmm. If you kick a field goal off somebody else's head, it counts as 4, not 3.
Well, there is the drop kick?
That's right.
Right. Yep. If you drop kick it through the, what do you get for that? You get 2 points.
Johnny and I went to a high school that was still in the 80s, the way in which they attempted extra points.
Yeah.
We didn't have a field goal kicker. It was that old school. Yeah. George Blanda would have been proud.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and let's not forget, of course, he's in Canton. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
so.
of course. That he should be like one of the first things you see when you walk in that place.
You know, this is an interesting thing. He played under head coaches Bear Bryant, George Halas, and John Madden. Just think about those three personalities. Like those three people seem like they're all from different realities. It's just insane.
And any one of those guys could drive you out of the game.
Yeah.
if you rubbed them the wrong way,
right,
or they rubbed you the wrong way. So to be able to kind of survive in those environments, that's a great old balls.
There you go, old balls. George Blanda.
Old balls Blanda.
Old balls.
Speaking of George Halas, Papa Bear Halas, he retired when he was 72 years old from coaching. So his record of being the oldest man to be the head coach of a football team was just beaten this past Sunday by none other than Mr. Romeo Crennel.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the new interim head coach of the Texans after Mr. Bill O'Brien was relieved of his duties. Last week, Romeo Crennel, who was the defensive coordinator, of course, and assistant head coach, he's the new interim head coach. Romeo Crennel is 73. So Romeo Crennel now has the distinction of being the oldest man to ever be the head coach of an NFL game, which I'm sure in a few years will be beaten by his former colleague in New England, Mr. Belichick. So just give him time.
How old's Belichick now? 66?
68, I believe he is. Yeah,
he could hang on for another 6 years, no problem.
Yeah. But Romeo Crennel. And Romeo Crennel, I mean, great credentials. I mean, he's part of the Bill Parcells coaching tree, too. I mean, all of them.
Right.
I mean, he followed Parcells around, followed Belichick around. He's won Super Bowls with Parcells. He won Super Bowls with the Giants. He won both the 86 and the 90 Super Bowl. He was on the Giants staff.
Well, he was a head coach for a while there, too, though.
He was, yeah. He was head coach in Cleveland. And
the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's what it was.
City.
Kansas City Chiefs, yeah. But yeah, he won Super Bowls in New England too. He was the defensive coordinator when they won the first 3 Super Bowls back in the early 2000s. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good coach, and now the oldest to ever be the head coach of a.
It's the second time he's been an interim head coach.
Yep. And I mean, just to continue that tree, around a colleague of his on the Texans, which was also a player for him on the Patriots, Mr. Vrabel, now decidedly winning that game last night as head coach of the Titans. The coaching trees are very incestuous, but they seem to work. So, and Dan Quinn too fired this week as head coach of the Falcons, and obviously Dimitrov, the GM, he's out of there too. So they got an interim guy.
Yeah, they're a team that went downhill pretty quickly, and you could still see signs of Atlanta could easily be 3-2, 4-1.
Yeah, no, they could be. It's crazy. But Dan Quinn, Jersey guy.
Yeah.
Actually grew up in Morristown.
Dropping like flies, those Jersey guys. Oh, and maybe the worst thing about the NFL.
I thought you said the worst thing about Jersey guys.
No, the worst news about the NFL, no Pro Bowl.
What are we going to do?
Did I say that not sarcastically enough?
Say it again. Try again.
I think the last time I watched a Pro Bowl, Steve Largent was playing.
I don't think I watched it then either. It was before that. I think Terry Bradshaw was in the last one.
Yeah, the NFL Pro Bowl where
was his backup.
Half the players don't play because they're in the Super Bowl, and the other top 25 are all injured during the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
injured.
The last Pro Bowl I watched was
air quotes, folks.
The last Pro Bowl I watched was Tecmo Bowl 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an actual game.
As long as they don't cancel the what is it, the Pup Bowl? What's the dogs?
the Puppy Bowl, yeah.
As long as they don't cancel the Puppy Bowl.
You don't want to cancel that.
No.
Do not want to cancel that. All right, folks. Well, I think that brings us to the point of wrapping it up. We want to thank you for listening to our podcast this week. As always, if you have listened to this through a link on our website or on social media, our website, which again is www.logroom.com, LAGERROOM.com. And, of course, our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all at The Lug Room. If you've watched it or if you listened to it off of a link on one of those, you can subscribe to our podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or Stitcher. And, of course, you could just check out any podcast browser and find it. And subscribe to our feed, and you will never miss a podcast.
And MySpace.
And yes, and Harry Space.
It's me in a crawl space with an 8-track player.
It's a crawl space underneath the city of Denver, and there's an 8-track. You just push the button and it plays. But remember, you got to hit the program and go to the next one. But nobody knows what I'm talking about. So anyway,
I know what you're talking about.
All right. Well, I know we do. I'm saying anybody else.
Well, we're not doing this for them.
This is true.
Obviously.
All right, everybody. Once again, thanks for listening to the podcast. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch sports, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, folks. Take care.
Later.
Peace.
Look at the little Tula. She's talking to the producer. Talking to a cat. And a woman in a jumpsuit.